Welcome to Life, Lessons, and Laughter with your host, Glenn Ambrose.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Hope you're having a good day as opposed to a bad day. But if you're having a bad day, I've got some tools that can help. So yeah, what I'm talking about today is bad days, difficult times, and sometimes these bad days can turn into multiple days, even weeks sometimes, depending on what's causing it, of course. Sometimes nothing's wrong that you can think of or that you can find, and you're just off. So, of course, the first thing that you want to do, and I'm going to touch on these briefly because I think most people do these already, or at least attempt to, but they can be helpful, especially if there's something particularly wrong or you can identify it. In those situations, then deal with what's wrong. So our emotions are processed or developed, triggered, created from the way we process a situation, not from the situation itself. It's the way our brain is looking at it, our perspective of the situation. So if one person perceives, we're seeing this a lot going on in the world issues right now, is, one person perceives a scenario one way and another person perceives the scenario another way. Well, then the person that perceives the scenario as negative is extremely upset and oh my God, how can we live like this? This is horrible. And then the other person that perceives it another way is going, but I see nothing wrong with this. It was necessary for this to happen, or the person that did this was in the right, whatever. So, and they're fine. Depending on the situation, a person that processes it as a positive, they could either be neutral, they could be fine, they could be like, okay, it's unfortunate this happened, but it was necessary this happened. Or sometimes they're even happy depending on the circumstance. Hopefully not if somebody got hurt, but in other situations, hopefully, where they're like, no, this is a step in the right direction. So it's all based on how you process what's happening. So that's one of the things that you can do. Like, generally we get upset because something happened that we don't like and it's outside our control and we think it shouldn't have happened, but it did happen. So there's kind of no such thing as shouldn't have. It either did or it didn't. Shouldn't have is kind of ridiculous, I think, when you really get down to what that statement is. I think a lot of people say it like, oh, it shouldn't have happened. Like, it's another way of saying I don't like the fact that it happened. But we got to be careful with the energy in which we're saying things, because shouldn't have happened actually doesn't mean that. It means that there's something wrong with the fact that it did. And that's what causes a tremendous amount of internal struggle. Because basically what we're saying is things are happening in the world and the universe that go against the way things are supposed to be. It goes against nature, like in a universal sense. So therefore, there's something wrong with the world. Like that's huge. Like we say these things and we don't think that they really mean that much. It's like, well, yes, of course, there's lots of things wrong with the world. No, like if you're expecting to live in this world and live in a certain level of peace, then you have to understand that nothing is happening that shouldn't have happened. There was a bunch of things that caused this to happen, and maybe there's a lot of people that are disconnected from God, from source, from love, and then they go out and they behave like this in negative ways be, because they're disconnected from source. Well, that's not like it shouldn't have happened. No, if people are disconnected from source, if they weren't out doing stupid things or things that make other people suffer, that would be weird. So it's actually appropriate in a sense of how the world should be functioning. If there are a lot of people that are separated from source, then there should be dysfunctional things happening. If there weren't dysfunctional things happening, then there would be a serious problem with the universe. Right? It's not to say that I like dysfunctional things happening. I'm just being realistic. Like a large portion of the world is disconnected from their source of love. So for there to be dysfunctional things happening because of that is actually in alignment with reality. It makes sense, is my point. If it were any other way, that would be weird. That would reflect if we had 3/4 of the population disconnected from source, or half the population disconnected from their source of love, and they weren't out doing negative things, looking out for themselves, doing all these things that we label as dysfunctional. If they weren't doing those things, the whole universe would probably implode because it just doesn't align with the way things are, with reality. Okay, so it just is. How we process it determines everything. If we are looking, this is why we have to take a giant step back to make sense of what's going on. If we're just looking at a situation, and we're never going to find a healthy way to look at it. That's what happens when we get upset about something. We zoom in on it and we stand right like a millimeter away, and then we can't see anything else, just the problem. So we have to take a step back to gain perspective and look at it and go, oh, okay, well, yeah, there are people disconnected from source. So this type of thing happens in the world. It's been happening for 100,000 years. It's probably going to continue happening for a while. Right. So, and we can put our attention on those things, or we can put our attention on, and that's just acceptance. It's not approval. I'm not saying like we have to find a way to approve of what's happening and say, oh, it's a good thing. No, if you don't like the fact that something happened, that's fine. Don't like the fact that it happened. But thinking that it shouldn't have happened, or there's something wrong with the universe because it happened, that's a problem, because you can't fix that. Like, and that's assuming you know more than God, which is a pretty big leap. So the fact that things are happening, we just have to look at them and go, okay, well, I'm not going to do those things. I'm not going to participate in that type of stuff. And start looking for solutions. To me, I had to take a giant step back away from the problems to actually find the solutions. Because to me, if you look at society, the problem is not the things that are transpiring in society. The problem is that we are disconnected from source. So there's a natural byproduct of negative things happening. The way that human beings live their life is the structure of so-called democracy in a country is based on greed and funneling money and power upwards. As long as we live in a system like that, we're going to find greedy people at the top, and the people at the bottom are going to get things taken from them, their money, their sense of safety. um, their suffering is going to increase, and it's just going to funnel up. Because if you have a system that's based on greed, greed doesn't say, oh well, I have more than I could spend, so let's share some with everybody else. That's not what greed says. Greed doesn't know stop. Greed only knows more. So as long as we live in a world that's based on systems created by greed, we are going to have these problems. We're going to be involved in wars, killing other people for you know oil, or because they think differently than us or something. So like, I believe that the overall solution is developing a new way of being. And I'm not worried about who's not doing it. I don't put my attention there. What I put my attention on is who is doing it, who is living the way that is God-centered, is connected to source, who is working on philanthropic projects, who is working to make this world a better place, who is starting communities all around the world that are intentional, love-based. Where are those things? Who is learning to live off greed so they're not dependent on this? Did I say live off greed? Live off grid. Big difference. So live off grid so they're not dependent on these consumerism systems, So I put my attention on the good. And when I look at the things that I don't like, when I see those, I just go, okay, yeah, it's that's not good, but it's a natural response to the way we've been living for tens of thousands of years, 100,000 years. It's always been this way. There's always been civilizations, they've always come to a peak, and the people at the bottom have always rebelled, and I don't mean rebel in a military way, or another country or another people has come over and taken them over. It's always happened like this, and it's going to continue happening until we change, and our way of being is different. So one thing is to make peace with it. Make peace with whatever is going on. I talked about big problems, but the dynamic is the same with little problems, things going wrong at work or something. Like, we drop into victim mode so easily and then wonder why we're so upset. If something goes wrong at work, or something goes on at work that we don't like, we're like, oh no, this shouldn't have happened, and this is a load of crap, and I have to go there every day. No, you don't have to go there every day. You're choosing to go there every day. That's a reframe, and it makes all the difference in the world, because we think the way we say things to ourselves doesn't matter, and it does. It's night and day. If you're going, oh, there's this coworker that I don't like at work, and I have to put up with that crap all the time, and like, no, you can set boundaries. I don't know how. We'll learn. Well, I have to go to work. No, you don't. You're choosing to go to work because it's how you pay your bills. Good choice. Pat yourself on the back. Don't feel like a victim of going to work. If you don't like your job, start working on creating another opportunity. You can take, instead of watching TV every night, you can go to college online. You can learn a new trade, you can start a new business, you can look for a new job doing the same thing elsewhere. Like work to change. Whatever you're not changing, you're choosing. So work towards change. And yes, even if it's going to take 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, I don't care. If I'm 50 years old and I decide I want to work towards something that's going to take me 10 years and I'm going to be 60 when I get there, cool. Well, at least I'll be doing what I like when I'm 60 instead of going, well, no, I'm going to do what I hate until I'm 70. Okay. Or 65 or 67, whatever the heck retirement age is. Like it's, it's worth it because instead of sitting around watching TV, you're actually walking towards your goals. So those 10 years are going to be happier because you're going to like yourself more and you're going to be excited walking towards your goal. And then you'll get there. And then it'll be good after that too, because you're going to be doing something you like. You see, that's a lot better way to spend 20 years walking towards something and then living it for 10 years or sitting on your butt watching TV complaining about how you don't like your life. Okay. So reframing things, my point here is reframing things so you're not the victim of them and making peace with reality. You don't have to like reality to accept it, to accept that it just is. It is. It is the way things are right now. It is. Your resistance is to what is. All suffering is resistance to what is. All emotional suffering. So the suffering that we're experiencing and putting ourselves through on a daily basis is because of our resistance. It's not because of what's going on. We cannot like something that's going on and just make peace with it. Make peace with the reality that it's going on, not make peace with it in a way that we go, oh, I'm so happy that that's going on. No, not at all. You don't have to like it, but you do have to make peace with it. You do have to swallow the reality that this is reality. It just is. If there's something you can find to do to try to change that reality towards a better reality that you like, well, go ahead. Go do it. Take some action. And that does not include commenting on Facebook and Instagram. That doesn't change anything. Like you're not doing anything, and people go, oh, well, I'm spreading awareness. Do you think that anybody on the planet is unaware of what's transpiring in the world at this point? We live in the information age. I haven't watched the news in over 20 years and I can't get away from what's going on. I know about all the major stuff. Never watch the news, ever. Haven't in 22 years. But you sharing on social media is going to raise awareness so that we can finally fix. That's what we've been missing. We've been living in war and greed for the last 100,000 years. But the solution is you sharing on social media. Thank you. Oh, we finally found the missing piece. We've been trying to work towards peace on earth all these years, all these decades, all these millennia. And what we were missing was you sharing on social media. Something that's already been shared on social media 150 billion times. Slow down and think about what you're doing, please. Because the reasons you're using don't make sense. So, reframing things so you're not a victim, and I've done podcasts on these things specifically where you can go listen, get more in depth. Acceptance to reality, to what is. Not liking it, but accepting it. So those are things. Now I want to dive into really the crux of this podcast. This is so it when you're having a bad day, we have to understand we're in negative headspace. Okay, like I don't think we understand what that means and how it functions, because I see it a lot in my work. When you're in negative, most people, when they're having a bad day, when they're in negative headspace, they try to find a solution to their problem while they're in negative headspace. And you cannot, it's not going to happen. The only thing that's going to happen is it's going to perpetuate your negative headspace. Why? Because negative headspace and positive headspace do not fill up the same head at the same time. You can't be in negative headspace and in positive headspace at the same time. You got to pick one. So when you're in negative headspace, the only thing that is going to make sense to you is negativity, more negative stuff, ways of thinking, ways of looking at things that vibrate at the same rate that your head is vibrating at. It's like oil and water. When you bring positivity into negativity, it's like oil and water. They do not mix. You can't blend them together. It's two completely different things, two completely different energies. And this is the biggest problem that I see with people is they're in negative headspace and they're trying to figure out how to get out of negative headspace. So like I said, if there's a specific thing causing the negative headspace, well, then you can just reframe it and then maybe they'll pull you out of it and then you're fine. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But sometimes we don't know why we're upset. We don't know why we're in negative headspace, or the things that we've tried reframing or something don't work. And we're still just in this negative place. So that you can't think your way out of negative headspace, because the only thing that makes sense is more negativity. So, somebody, you can be like, well, there's no way I can ever change my job. There's just no way. I can't just start a new career. And you're all negative about it, right? And then somebody comes in and they say, well, why don't you, could you take an online course when you get out of work? No, I don't have time. There's no way. Well, what if you didn't watch TV? Oh, yeah. So I'm supposed to just stop my whole life. And the 2 hours a night that I get out of enjoyment, I can't even have that anymore. You're taking that from me. Like, this is how we process information when we're in negative space. We put a negative spin on whatever is being said. And any positivity we poo-poo on and pretend that it doesn't make sense, because it doesn't in our head. But then somebody comes in and says, you know what? You're right. Your life sucks and you can't start a new career. And they're like, finally, somebody that understands me. You're trapped and you can't get out. I know. This is horrible. Now, which one, if you're neutral, which one actually makes sense? Are you truly trapped in your life that nobody has ever changed? Nobody's ever gone to college online and got new training for a new career. Nobody's ever started a business. Nobody. That's impossible. There's no possible way you could possibly do that. Is that true? No, it's not true. But you can poo-poo it real easy when you're in negative headspace, because that's a solution. That's positivity. And it doesn't jive when you're in negative headspace. This is why I created my rule for being in negative headspace. I am not allowed to think about anything or come to any conclusions when I am in negative headspace. I'm not allowed. I'm not allowed to think through things, because when I'm in negative headspace, only negativity makes sense. So how am I ever going to come to a solution? How am I going to come to a positive outcome? I'm not, because it's not allowed. It's not going to make sense to me. Even if I pull it up in my brain, even if I Google positive ideas, I'm just going to crap all over them, because they're not going to sound right in my head, because they don't match the energy that's in my head. You see, this is paramount. We're constantly trying to figure our way out of negative headspace when we're in negative headspace, and and any idea that might work, any solution that might come up, we're just going to push it away because we're focused on the problem and being in it. That's our whole it feeds the energy that we're already in. It matches our vibration. So it's the only thing that's going to make sense. So the way that I figured out how to do this was many years ago. I was in negative headspace sometimes, positive headspace sometimes. And I was like, well, which one's the truth? Because which line of thinking is true? Because they both seem true when I'm in it. So what I did was I was in negative headspace and I was like, okay, how do I know that what I'm thinking right now is true? And my brain gave me all these intellectual reasons why the way that I thought was true. And a lot of times it would revert back to history, back to past experiences and stuff. But it would give me all this logical negative reasons why my thinking was true. And it seemed correct at the time. So I was like, okay, what else? Like, how do I feel? Is that it? Is there any other way for me to know that this is the truth? And the only thing that was coming to me was my intellectual reasoning. I said, okay, well, I have a whole litany of intellectual reasons why negativity is the true way of looking at things. So then, I was hoping that I was going to get into positive headspace at some point, and I did, thankfully. So when I was in positive headspace, I'm looking at the same things and I'm coming to positive outlooks, and I'm going, no, the way that I was thinking when I was in negative headspace was completely wrong. This is the correct way of looking at things. And I said, okay, well, how do I know that it's true? And my brain came up with a bunch of intellectual reasons why it was true, just like it did when I was in negative headspace. And I was like, okay, well, this seems like a tie here. So, I mean, theoretically, I could just pick the positive because they both have their reasons, and thinking positively feels better than thinking negatively. So I could go in that direction. But is there any other way that I know that the positive way of looking at things is actually true, like more true than the negative? And all of a sudden I felt it. I felt this confidence, this assuredness, this truth in my body, like in my bones, in my soul, just inside of my body. I was like, I know this is true. I know the positive end is true. So then I'm like, and it was powerful. I could feel it strongly. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I didn't feel that. I didn't feel it in my body when I was focused on the negative. It was just intellectual. So now it's 2-1. And the feeling in my body is much more powerful than anything that I can do intellectually. So this must be the real truth. The positive way of looking at things must be the real truth. Because I can feel it to be true. I didn't feel happy. I mean, of course I felt that too because I was in positive headspace, but it wasn't about feeling happy. It was about feeling that the way I was looking at things was in alignment with who I was supposed to be naturally. It just felt right. So that's when I made up this rule. I was like, okay, I can't trust my thinking when I'm in negative headspace. Because only negativity makes sense. So I set that rule, and that's what I do. Now, this is kind of, I think, the end all be all to this podcast. The most important thing to me that we can do in these situations, as well as in our daily lives, is come back to center. We have to come back to that connection to our source. Come back to God. Like that feeling that of peace and safety and contentment and love that's within our body when we are connected to our source, to the universe, to God, to whatever you want to call it. When we are connected, being in the present moment, same thing, being in the now, whatever you want to call it. When you're just centered, you come back to center, you come back to the present moment, and you're just completely here. And you can feel it inside your body. Everything is fine in this present moment. Come back home. That is our center. We have to walk through life connected to that as much as humanly possible. So it creates a little space in between us and what's transpiring between us when we're walking through life like that. And something happens the way we, in a way that we don't like or something, and we laugh at it. We're like, I can't believe that. Oh, it's fine. I'll find a way around it, and that's just our natural response when we're in that space. See, I think people are looking for that space, but they don't know how to get there. They're like, I want to walk through life happy all the time. I want to walk through life where I'm not getting stressed out or things that I see on the news aren't bothering me. Okay, this is how. This is how. And this is also how we get out of negative headspace. This is how we do everything. It's be still and know that I am God. We feel the presence in our stillness. We have to come back home to that constantly, all the time, and learn to walk through our lives like that. Like I've done endless work in the last 22 years on myself, on traumas, on reframing the way that I think, in working on releasing anger, working through all this stuff. And you want to know what? When I'm in negative headspace, all that crap goes out the window. It's not crap, it's wonderful stuff. But it goes right out the window. And then all of a sudden I'm upset at things. Things get to me. I start feeling like a victim. I start feeling and I'm in it, and I'm like, what the heck, man? I've been doing this for 22 years and I'm still landing here. It's because all that work, I mean, can it benefit us to some degree? Yeah, some of it, sure. We can do some of it, but that's not the answer. None of the real spiritual giants that have actually transcended suffering, none of them in our history tell us that we have to do 332 freaking ceremonies or we have to go through all these workshops and all that. They all say it's within. What we're looking for is within, and it is. Go within, center, try to hold that feeling and function. And it's the same way to get out of negative headspace. We have to keep going within. Oh, I'm frustrated. Go within anyway. Oh, it's not working too much. Go within anyway. Just be in the present moment as much as you possibly can. Once you hold yourself in that energy for a certain period of time, depending on the situation, all of a sudden the negativity is gone. It's just gone, and you're in good space. Then you can start thinking about things. Then you can start coming to conclusions. Then you can start looking for solutions. But until you do that, it's a waste of time looking for a solution. It's a complete waste of time because you're in negative headspace. You're in oil and you're bringing in water. It's never going to mix. It's never going to match. The water is just going to fall right off the oil and you're going to be left with the oil. Like water off a duck's ass. That's what happens to positivity. It just drops right off. So don't play. Don't try to look for solutions. Don't try to figure your way out of things. Manage your energy. Figure out how to get back into good space. And the best way to get back into good space is that. coming back to center, coming back to the present moment, coming back to the stillness where eventually you can start feeling that peace in your heart and that safety, and sit in it, and sit in it, and resonate in it, and ruminate in it, and thank God for it, and embrace it, and enjoy it, and be like, oh my God, there you are. There's that safety. Oh, I missed it. Oh, I was caught up in that negativity. Ah, let it go. Just let the energy go and anchor into the stillness. And then, maybe you can reframe something or find a solution in another way or come to a level of acceptance. But we have to take care of our energy first. We have to understand that when we're in negative headspace, it's just nothing good comes out of it. That's why it's negative. So doing this is like I said earlier, I'm not just talking about getting out of negative headspace, although that's what this podcast is about. Just doing this will literally change your entire life and existence and how you interact with reality on a daily basis. And the more you practice this, it's more powerful than anything, any tool, any, we talk about rewriting neural pathways. Well, you can't when you're in negative headspace. You can't, because you cannot say something positive and believe it and recreate new neural pathways when you're in negative headspace, because the only thing that makes sense, the only thing that you will allow yourself to listen to is negativity, which is the old neural pathways. So you can't create you can't lie to yourself. When you're in negative headspace and saying, oh, no, I don't believe this. I believe everything is wonderful in the world and I'm creating new neural pathways. No, you're not. You're lying to yourself. Inside, you don't believe a word of it, and it ain't creating new neuro nothing. You're not rewriting neural pathways by lying to yourself. We've got all these terms like spiritual bypassing and all this stuff, and we don't even know what they mean. That's spiritual bypassing, just lying to yourself and pretending that you believe in something positive that you don't believe in because you're in negative headspace, and thinking that that's going to change something. It's not going to change anything. We have to get ourselves into a space where we are in a positive mindset, where positivity actually makes sense to us. And then we can recreate neural pathways. Well, not recreate, but create new ones and reinforce those new ones. So that's really the answer. It's coming back to center, into just coming back to the present moment, coming back to center, coming back to that connection with God and holding yourself there as long as you can. And then, as we go through life, it's about learning to wake up and think of God the first thing. Just when, before your eyes even open, it's to practice until you get to a place where you're like, oh, you're like, oh, I think I'm awake. I'm waking up now. Oh, another day. Oh, another day with God. Another day. Another day to become whoever I want to be, to express who I am out of love. Oh, what a blessing. We have to practice that. We have to practice being in that positive, loving space until it takes up, it's the first thing we think of in the morning, and it's the last thing we think of when we're going to bed. And it's what we're practicing while we're brushing our teeth. just being in that space. Yes, of course, going through a gratitude list and thinking about things you're grateful for and counting your blessings and being grateful for things that other people take for granted. All that can help. But what the reason it helps is because it puts us in that space. If you're filled with gratitude, guess what you're not letting in? Negativity. You can't be filled with gratitude and in negative space at the same time. Right? So feed that love that's within you. Bring it up to the surface, feel it, walk in it. Do the dishes, experiencing it. Brush your teeth, experiencing it. Take a shower, experiencing that feeling inside of you. Practice holding it. Practice moving your arm at first, nice and slowly, while you feel that love in your heart. And not feeling that love in your heart and then going to reach for something and going, I don't feel it anymore. Oh, I'm back into unconsciousness, running around randomly doing stuff that I don't even know what I'm doing or why I'm doing it. No, practice moving your hand. Oh, wow. Okay, I can move my hand and I can reach for things without losing that feeling. Oh, all right. So there's a little space in between me and reality, Earth's reality. I'm fully in reality, in the spiritual realm. I'm fully in love. But I also can interact with things in this transient reality. Oh, wow. And then when things happen and somebody comes at me attacking, I see it for what it is. I don't lean into the drama or the energy of what they're doing. Hey, you're a jerk. No, I'm not. That's an unconscious reaction. But when you're centered, excuse me, when you're in good space, you're a jerk. This person's upset for some reason. I wonder what they're upset about. Oh, why would you say that? Because you didn't get me my papers when I needed them. Oh, yes. Well, I have them right here. See? No problem. Here you go. I just finished them. I was going to bring them over. It's all right. You don't have to protect yourself from that person. This is what we've trained in society. We've trained it to be normal that like if somebody calls us a jerk, then that's a personal attack on us and we must attack back and defend ourselves, because our I don't know what people think in their heads, but and of course I can do it too sometimes, but I don't want to go into that mentality to remember. But it's like we think that we have to protect our ego, who we think we are. No, we're fine. I know that when I'm centered, I know that I'm not a jerk. So I don't have to defend myself from somebody else thinking that I'm a jerk. It's okay. And if I give them that paperwork and they're like, well, you're a jerk anyway. Oh, okay. Well, that's stuff going on inside of them. Why does that have to wreck my day? They think they're filled with anger and they think I'm a jerk and they're all wound up and negative toxins are flowing through their body because of their anger and their frustration and all this stuff. And their day sucks and they're having a miserable day. But what I'm supposed to do is lean into that and wreck my day too. And by defending myself, who cares? Let them think that I'm a jerk. It's all right. They can have that. They can walk around in all that anger all by themselves. And I'll be over here seeing it for what it is. It's just stuff going on inside of them. They weren't able to handle a situation. They started projecting it onto me. They blamed me, and they can continue doing that, and they'll continue having a miserable life, and that's fine. It's not my responsibility. I'm just responsible for my life, having a peaceful existence within my body. I don't have to defend myself from somebody thinking I'm a jerk. Let them. Who cares? I'm much happier letting them than I am fighting them. So I'm going to let them and I'm not going to fight them. Why? Just because I'm happier. It's the only reason. So center, come back to peace. And then you can interact with life like that. And you know what? It's amazing. Your anger never gets triggered when you're walking through like that. So you didn't have to go through, like I said, I mean, I was extremely angry when I was young, and I did some spiritual healings that released this anger, and I've worked through things and looked at why I was angry, and like I've done a lot of work on all that stuff, and some of that work was helpful. But at the end of the day, if I'm in bad space, there is a possibility of me getting angry. And there's even a possibility, a small one, of me behaving inappropriately, no matter how much work I do on my anger. Because when we're angry, our brain shuts down and we don't think clearly, and we start acting just out of our past, unconsciously. And the only thing that's going to change that is the more time I spend in peace and contentment, and make that my new normal. Make that the way I interact with life all the time. All the time. How do I do that? By being in that presence, by being in that present moment, by being in the love and the peace in my heart, walking in like that. And we don't exacerbate difficult situations when we're in that peace, because we don't lean into the drama and the negativity of it. We just sit back on the outside and we don't feed it. And then it starves off. Or at least it doesn't expand. At least we're not helping. We think that like when somebody calls me a jerk and then I argue at them, I'm standing up for love. No, you're literally feeling anger. You can't feel anger and be in love at the same time. That's not love. See, anger fights back, and I don't give a crap what your reasoning is. If you're feeling anger, then you're angry. Now, if I'm feeling love and I go, like, let's say there's a situation where I need to, or it's appropriate to stand up for myself. Let's say my kid, I'm a parent and my child calls me a name, or my spouse or something. Well, if I argue with them, then I'm just as bad as they are, because I'm feeling angry and I'm arguing. But if I just sit there and I'm in calm, peaceful, loving space, and I go, now, why would you call me a name like that? I mean, I understand you're upset and we can work through it, but calling me a name that's not how we talk to each other. We need to start with the foundation of love and work from there. Oh, you're not capable of that right now? Okay, well then this conversation is over. I'm going to let you just have your space and go through whatever you need to go through, and we can talk about it later. Okay? That's self-love. I'm not angry. I'm not defending myself. I'm not fighting against. That's huge, because this is what's happening in the world is people are seeing things that they don't like, and they are attacking what they don't like out of anger. And they think they're standing in love, and they're not. You're just exacerbating the problems. You're making them bigger. If you have a giant ball of anger and hatred, and then you come in and bring more anger and hatred, but you say it's love, but it's actually anger and hatred, you bring more, you have a bigger ball of anger and hatred. You do not have love. Now, if you have a big ball of anger and hatred, and then you bring love in, love is more powerful. So you minimize the anger and the hatred. And depending on the situation, it might make a difference. It might not make a difference. If you, one little person, brings in love to a global ball of hate, you're probably not going to make much of a dent. We have to be realistic here. If you've got 100 billion pounds of anger and hatred, and you bring in 100 pounds of love, now love is more powerful than anger and hatred, but it ain't going to overtake all that. But that's not your job. Your job is just to be love. Just be love. Just be the change you wish to see in the world. That's the best thing you can do. Yelling and arguing and informing people on social media or complaining or whatever the heck else people are doing right now to voice the fact that they hate what's going on in one particular area or another is just feeding the anger and the hatred. Standing in love, like if you did nothing, we would be better off. Just because not neutral is not feeding the anger and the hatred. If you are experiencing anger and hatred in your heart, you are feeding the anger and the hatred in the world. Period. Just period. You can say because you want good things. You can say it's because you want to bring love. You can say it's because you want everybody to love one another. But if you're experiencing anger, then it's anger. That's what you're bringing into the world. So if you were to do nothing, we would have less anger in the world. Then if you work on yourself and be an example of love, what would Jesus do? Be love. You know, Jesus said, you will do greater works than I. We can actually walk through life in love. We can do it. Each of us. Practice that. Then we have more love in the world, and we're not feeding the hate and the anger, and the hate and the anger will diminish, and the love will grow. And we've seen this. We've seen it. I'm not making it up. We've seen it with Gandhi. That's exactly what Gandhi did. Said, you're going to walk out of India of your own accord. We're not going to fight you. But what's the sense in trying to control a country that you can't control? There's no benefit. You have to spend a bunch of money doing things for a country, and you can't control its people. There's no benefit for you. It's foolish. So eventually you're going to recognize that you can't control its people, and you're going to walk out, and change is going to take place. And it did. This is how positive change comes about. We have examples throughout history. There are not a lot of them. We don't usually take these routes, but when we do take these roots of peace and love and happiness and not feeding the anger, once we do that, it works out. Nelson Mandela did the same thing. He didn't make any progress when he was arguing. When he stopped arguing and connected with his oppressor as human being to human being, then they worked towards a solution. But when he was fighting against them, he didn't do anything except sit on his ass in jail for 29 years or something like that. Oh, wow, good progress. There was no progress all that time. It was when he changed. That's when the progress came. When he started functioning out of love instead of out of hatred. Even though he was on the right side. See, we think if we're on the right side, that's all that matters. No, that's not what matters. Actually, it doesn't matter at all. There's always two sides. And there's always wars going on, and there's always fighting, and nothing ever gets accomplished. Why? Because we keep feeding the damn anger. The only time anything has been eradicated permanently in an area, generationally, is when we chose love. It's the only time. So let's choose love. All right, peeps. Hopefully that helps. That's going to do it for me. I hope you have great days. And I hope if you have a bad one, you can pull yourself out by coming back to your home, that center, that peace inside of you. All right. Thanks for listening, peeps. Talk with you soon. Peace.